Hey everyone, good Wednesday evening. Welcome to another episode of Bowling with the Pfaff, a platform for you to share your unique bowling story live on our YouTube channel in the, I guess you could say, height of summer or dead of summer, depending on your point of view, but still plenty of bowling stuff to talk about. And we're sharing bowling stories all summer long. If you're interested in coming on the show, or you have some questions about the show, or for me, or for our guests, you can certainly comment on our videos. Those commenting fields are up and available. We have a live chat going on right now, so feel free to let us know you're here and where you're from and all that good stuff. Or you can email me. bowlingwiththepfaff@yahoo.com is the address. I'd be happy to hear from you. And thanks to all of you who have taken the time to watch and to subscribe. I appreciate each and every one of you. If you've been paying attention to the PBA and the PBA League, you know that the Portland Lumberjacks are now the 3-time defending Elias Cup champions. They won this past Sunday. Norm Duke saying it was his last time he was going to participate in the PBA League, and it was a tremendous show. If you haven't seen it, a crazy final game. I won't ruin it for you if you haven't seen it, even if you know the outcome, which you do now. Take the time. Watch it on replay. It's pretty intense, and something that I've really never seen anything quite like before in professional competition. But there was a great moment at the end where Duke was given the chance to throw the final shot. He put 10 back in the pit, gave everybody hugs. It was very emotional, and what a great professional ambassador for the sport champion he is. So best of luck to him in whatever comes next. Sunday's Peterson Classic squad in the morning had a little, I guess, got some traction or attention on the social media. In a post to the tournament's Facebook page, it says that the lane machine inadvertently put out a house shot and not the competition pattern or patterns it usually uses. If you're familiar with the Peterson, they basically do everything in their power to make it difficult to strike. And that includes, crazy configurations with the pins and lane conditions and all that good stuff. I've never shot it myself before, but always wanted to. But what a weird situation on Sunday. That post went on to say that Bolero is going to add funds to create an alternate prize fund for the 24 bowlers that participated in that morning squad. And then after the tournament ends in September, it will be determined where these 24 bowlers would have placed, and they will be paid the appropriate amount of prize money by Bolero Corporation based on their position in the standings. So, really strange situation out there. Kind of puts both bowlers and tournament in a strange spot. That's kind of the direction they went. Not a lot more detail on how they're actually going to do it beyond that. So it will be interesting to see what comes of that for those folks who bowled in the Peterson Classic, and probably a little more attention paid between now and September to that event, which is held at Bolero Wauwatosa near Milwaukee after years and years and years and years in the Chicagoland area. So I'll definitely be paying attention to that. Bowling with the Pfaff is brought to you by Chip Magnet Salsa. Chip Magnet is an Eau Claire company, which is right down the street from me. It creates salsa, of course, relishes, and other food products to stores in 38 states and Canada. If you are in the Eau Claire area, it's going to be tougher to find a store that doesn't sell chip magnet than one that does. Some, for example, you can go to Eau Claire Cheese and Deli. Woodman's has it. You can find it at Festival Foods and a bunch of other stores around the area. And if you don't have it in a store near you, that's okay. Go to chipmagnetsalsa.com. They are ready to take your order to send you the greatest salsa in the history of salsas. Please take my word for it because it's a great product. I wouldn't bring it on as a sponsor if it wasn't. Chip Magnet Salsa, raise your snack standards. So let's talk to our guest for tonight. His name is Tylor Chamberlain, and we set this up really during the bowling season. And Tylor, we've talked in league about doing this, and now you're here. So welcome.
Welcome. It has been months in the making, and I am so excited to be on the show.
Well, I really appreciate your willingness to come on and all that good stuff. Jim Lucas, who coincidentally owns Chip Magnets, a husband and wife team, Jim and his wife Lexi, says, I like that stuff. And it's for good reason. It really is. Let's get into this. So it's interesting that you're wearing that particular jersey because when we took the picture that became the thumbnail for this show, you were wearing the same jersey. I will go on record and tell the people that you own more than just that jersey. You do wear other shirts.
Yes.
I unfortunately only have this and 3 others, so I just alternate between the 4. But the jacket is what I want to concentrate on. So that's not your jacket.
No, it is not.
It's owned by a friend of our bowling team named Mary, and I asked Mary if she'd provide me with some material about what she thought about you wearing that jacket. She said she wasn't really sure what to say, and I get it. That's fine. But I gotta say, it really matches the pants quite
well.
Yeah.
Yes. After I had seen the photo, and I really thought I'm gonna have to adopt pink as my new bowling color. It really just ties in the whole look. It really does.
Yeah. Jim has a point here. He did want, Mike Phillips did want to name it Pretty in Pink. I kind of like, hit the lean because you were kind of,
just throwing a lean out. Yeah, I think both names would have done very well for the show.
Yeah. But, I'm not going to say it's not a good name, but
no, whatever. It's a good name, but we've solidified on hit that lean.
Yeah. Fair enough. So let me put a hypothetical situation out there, given the craziness that we heard about this last weekend at the Peterson. Mm-hmm. Let's say you're in a bowling tournament. You're a tournament bowler.
Yep.
And you bowl a score that puts you in the lead. Yep. And all of a sudden, something like this happens. How do you react?
Realizing that it's not my fault, I can't change what the proprietor, what the lane mechanic, the issues that have come up. I'd probably be on the statute of wanting to re-bowl the tournament, just as my own personal integrity, and I'm sure a lot of other tournament bowlers and sport bowlers would agree that they would just rather re-bowl it. I can see that the Peterson Classic, what they're doing, is not a bad idea. It does make things easier. You don't need to get squads back into re-bowl. You're not taking up a whole extra squad time to just re-bowl that. And essentially it's their own tournament between that squad specifically. I don't think it's a bad idea. I think it works out well, and I think they're handling it very professionally, and they're doing the right options to make sure things stay as integrified as possible.
Yeah. And I think they were both bowlers and tournament are in just a horrible spot because of this. If it's me, if it's like teenaged me or 22-year-old me, I probably throw a fit, loud as and as boisterous as I possibly can. But current day me is probably just going to, okay, I'll, take your word for it, or
take the word for it, roll with the punches, and move on.
Right. Yeah. But, everybody handles it differently, and we'll see what, how this
Comes
one
of it.
plays out. Yeah. We were talking before the show about string pins. There was there was a pretty high profile tournament, the 2022 World Games, that went on over the past few days. You had Shannon O'Keefe taking a bunch of medals, Julia Bond and Shannon O'Keefe taking a doubles silver. But the interesting thing is, this was bowled on string pins. Let me ask you this. Have you ever tried bowling on string pins?
I have at the local arcade, Action City. They have string pins there. It may not be your normal bowling, but they do have string pins there.
Yeah.
Outside of that, no, I haven't taken my own personal equipment and gone and bowling on string pins.
On like a regulation size.
On a regulation lane, on size. I don't think we even have any proprietor in Wisconsin that has access to string pins, let alone Illinois, Michigan, or even Minnesota. Anybody around us, I don't think any of them have proprietor with string pin machines.
I haven't heard of any, and certainly not around here in the Eau Claire area. But and I didn't. I'll admit, I didn't watch any live stream of the 2022 games. I saw a highlight here and a highlight there, but you get word of crazy hits, 10 pins falling, at weird times after a lot of time has passed. Weird splits being made because the strings come in contact with each other. And now you've got people on social media posting a meme with a rack of string pins that says, "This is not bowling."
No.
Without having, done it yourself, do you come out on that one way or the other, or is this a wait and see thing?
I'm gonna be very middle ground with it. I think string pin bowling isn't going to be an issue that we're going to see. I think it can be used as a very casual. Kids from college are going to go have fun, throw pins around, and enjoy their time. On the sports side and the competition side, I don't think you're going to see it very often, and I don't believe it's going to be as big of a thing. I mean, people are probably going to get wrapped up on the World Games for, let's see, it's 7/13/2022. They're probably going to be talking about it 8, 9, 10 months down the road, and it'll keep coming up. And I'm sure our friends will make memes of it for months and years to come. Yeah. So I'm going to stay middle ground on it. I don't think it's a bad thing on the casual side. I do think it's a bad thing on the competition side.
Sure. Yeah, and that's fair. And I've heard a lot of people, express themselves similarly. I'm certainly going to wait to try and bowl on these things before I judge it one way or the other. I just, out of interest, I'm interested to see what it's like, how it carries.
I mean, yeah, when you carry your 280 average on your string pin lanes and come back to house, it'll be a good stepping stone.
Right. Yeah, for sure. So let's get into your bowling story, and it is multifaceted, which is yes. One of the many reasons why I'm really excited to have you on tonight. But start from the beginning. Tell us how and when and why and all that good stuff you started in the sport.
Well, my early years of bowling was just open bowling, house bowling, just going out to bowl with my dad and my little sister. My dad actually used to bowl in the same Thursday night league, the Big 8 Plus, for years. I think he stopped bowling recently back in 2015, 2016. That was when I was getting out of high school, is when he stopped bowling on the Thursday night league and stopped bowling for a decent amount of time. So it was still for me, but prior to him, it was just going out bowling with him, watching him at the bowling alley, and just kind of enjoying it casually. As I got older, a good buddy of mine, Michael Tigan, he was bowling in the youth league at Wagner's. So we would have been early middle school, so 2008, 9, 10, that range of era. I know that doesn't sound like a long time ago, but that's 14 years now. And it's wild to think about. But I started bowling on an actual youth league in 2012, my freshman year of high school, at Wagner's Lanes, their youth league, with Michael, Carrie, and all of them, and all the kids that I grew up with from that era. And then I actually started bowling high school through Memorial's high school program the following year, my sophomore year, once I was a little bit more comfortable with the sport.
Okay.
I mean, it wasn't a huge stepping stone from freshman to sophomore year, but it was a step enough where I felt more comfortable that I wanted to start bowling more and more and more competitively.
Yeah. Tell me about that junior program. I mean, when you say junior program, and my son, rolls juniors at that same
Yep.
house right now, it's a lot different than I remember it, but I'm an old guy who bowled juniors in the, late 80s and early 90s.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
times have changed, but give me kind of a lay of the land. How many other kids are we talking around your age and maybe, in that age group? And did you have coaches and all that stuff?
So I'm not going to say that the youth program at Wagner's was bad by any means, but we really didn't have coaches. We did have one that would show up early mornings on Saturday to help out. And that was Denny Burkhart, Pat's father. He would help out coaching, helping the kids out here and there. I was never a early morning child, so I would sleep in until about 15 minutes before practice started to get to the lanes. So I had no coaching outside of my old man.
Okay.
The amount of kids, I mean, when I was bowling youth, I think we had 12 teams in our division, which were in the junior seniors division, mainly seniors. I don't know what the age split was. I want to say it was freshmen and up were in the seniors. Middle school, so 6th to 8th grade was your juniors, and then it split to peewees and bantams. Age groups I couldn't tell you since I wasn't bowling that time, and it's probably changed a whole lot since bowling just is a popular sport at times, and then it's not popular.
Yeah.
I want to say we had like 12 to 14 teams, and this was 4-man teams. So math-wise, 60 bowlers, give or take, in just the seniors division alone. I mean, we used every lane. And Wagner's 26-lane house, we used every single lane, roughly 8 to 10 6 bowlers on a pair. So it was fairly large.
Yeah.
My sister joined shortly afterwards as I grew up, and we started losing more and more kids just because it was in that lull where it wasn't as popular anymore. There was other things going on in life. Kids couldn't make it. Parents couldn't make it. Parents couldn't bring their kids. But it was still, I mean, a very large youth league. And I say large sparingly because you got to look at bantams all the way up to your senior division of kids. And, I mean, I want to say there's probably 140, maybe 120 kids total in that youth league there. And then Bullwinkles also had their own program. Don't know how many kids were there. Didn't bowl there.
Right. But, certainly not a reflection of Wagner's because that's going on in centers all across America.
All across the nation, even across the world, honestly. Yeah. And as we know, you and I know very well, and other bowlers that watch the show or have participated, bowling's popular at times where you're going to have tons and tons and tons and tons of new talent coming in, whether they're going to go on to bowl on the tour or they're going to be your not rude, but your air quote house hack and have fun bowling in leagues and enjoying their time with friends and family.
Man, that sounds like me.
No, not at all. Not at all. And then you have your times where it's in a lull. You don't have a whole lot of kids joining. You're losing a lot of kids, and you're struggling to find kids to build a team. And in the youth part, it's harder to find kids because it's not like, oh, well, bowling isn't a sport. Bowling's just a fun thing to do with your friends after school kind of situation. And then you have the kids that like, well, bowling is a sport. I'm going to do it. I want to enjoy it. So it fluctuates year to year, but it's nothing on Wagner's. Like we said, it happens all across the nation every year.
Yeah. Tell me about maybe the person or people you looked up to. I mean, you mentioned your dad,
yes,
who is and was a bowler.
Yep.
Was it just him? Were there more? Were there people here? Were there people, maybe pros? Who did you look up to?
In the early years, it was just my dad because he's the only one that I really knew. Well, I guess my dad and my grandfather, both of them had bowled in the same team, same league, actually, all together. I think my grandfather stopped bowling a couple of years prior to my dad in that league just because he's a little bit older than my dad, obviously. But those were the two main people that I looked up to was my father and grandfather at the time going into my youth league time my freshman year. As I started bowling more and more, I looked up and was like looking side by side with Michael Tigan. I've known the family since I was probably in diapers, honestly. And we have always been really good friends and whatnot. So him and I it was very match made in heaven, one would say, of a bowling pair moving forward. As I got into high school and started bowling more competitively, finding how awful I am on sport shots at the time and bowling on those. The one bowler that I really wanted to mimic and find a style that I liked was actually Bill O'Neill. Through all of it, and I still do. A lot of people would say that I have a really smooth shot and whatnot. That's all I hear. I don't want to like toot my own horn.
I'll toot it for you. How's that?
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I mean, I do have some issues. I come around the back a whole lot, but I do throw really smooth shots, very consistent and whatnot here and there. And I did look up to Bill O'Neill. I've always wanted to match his style of bowling. I think it's arguably one of the smoothest shots in all of the PBA, PBA 50. I mean, bowlers, you look at Norm Duke, who really never misses a shot. He's very consistent down and smooth bowler. Pete Weber, all these guys in the PBA 50 league that have been bowling for years, many, many more nights of leagues than I have. But I feel like Bill O'Neill's got one of the most smoothest shots in all the leagues. So I've always looked up to him to try to mimic Bill O'Neill's style of bowling. Obviously, I don't do it 1-to-1 by any means, but he was one of the big pros that I looked up to. And then on the women's side, Shannon O'Keefe was actually another bowler that I thoroughly enjoyed watching throughout the years and growing up watching.
Yeah. And, these two were a mixed doubles team. I don't know if they still are this year, but...
I don't believe so. This year, I think they stepped away and they got different teammates this year.
Okay. But, longtime and former Lucy doubles champions in their own right. So, moving forward, I'm sure you'll see them both in their respective Hall of Fames, and for good reason. Halls of Fame, you say.
Yes.
So you get into high school league, and which is great because there are a lot of folks who have come on this show who either didn't do high school bowling or didn't have the opportunity to do high school bowling. So tell me about what that was all about for you, and who was on your team, what the competitions were like, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So all of high school bowling. I only bowled 3 years. I should have bowled my freshman year, regretting it now, looking back at it. But I enjoyed the 3 years that I bowled with the team and the bowlers that I had with. I bowled with high school friends of mine, Cole Nutting, Liz Gibson, Darnell Harvey, and two others I can't remember. Jenna Nelson, Gabby Shin, and I think one or two other people that came and gone through a very small window. But it was all Baker style, and I know not many people are aware of Baker style. It's the primary bowling format used in high school and college, where you and four other teammates bowl as one person. You alternate frames. For example, if Thef and I were bowling, I'd bowl frame 1, he'd bowl frame 2. Our other three teammates would bowl frames 3, 4, and 5. And then we just go right back to the order again, starting from the 6th frame through the 10th.
And if you happen to see the PBA League this last weekend, that's exactly what they were doing.
That's exactly what it is. And that's honestly one of my favorite events going on, is because you don't get to see the Baker style very often. Yeah. So watching the PBA League is very exciting. And they've made it really almost very sport-centric, where they're drafting teammates, they're holding teammates. They have a draft every year. I've watched the draft a couple of times. It's really moving to that very sport aesthetic, which I thoroughly enjoy, and I really hope more leagues would adapt it, as well as it gets presented more in the high school divisions and college divisions.
Yeah.
So bowling throughout the high school, it was fun. Lots of competition, long weekends. We would travel 2 hours was the farthest drive, out to Ladysmith, Hudson, Baldwin. Chautauqua was still a part of the team at the time. Rice Lake was, Menominee. So essentially your Big Rivers Conference is the best way to describe it. We went all around that area. We would bowl double matches where you bowl against another school, do a 7-game block. You win 1 point for each game. Best of 7 wins the round. You get your full match point. You took averages, and there's tons of stats. Everyone can find them still. I mean, probably not from then, but each year the stats are updated on the Wisconsin High School Bowling page. You just got to find the district. It's the greater Eau Claire area. And everyone can follow along, see fill percentages and whatnot. And it's honestly, any youth bowler that wants to continue bowling should look into high school bowling and even college bowling if they continue on. It's so much more fun. I mean, I've met bowlers through the Baker high school and college bowling that I would have never met, and I still talk to today. And it's been 6 years since I graduated. So still to this day, I talk to those people. It's a lifelong commitment, essentially, and it's friendships made for life. It really is.
For sure. Yeah, and I had the opportunity to bowl in high school as well, and I'm still friends with at least a couple of my teammates,
Yeah.
if not more. But along with the bowling in high school, you were also a football player.
Yes, I was a football player for a year. I don't know who told you that or how'd you find that, but yes, I was a football player for a year. I played my football my senior year of high school. It was something I wanted to try out at least once. Everyone told me I should do it. Standing, at 6'4", 6'3", my senior year, 190 pounds. I was tall and slanky, but man, there wasn't a corner or a free safety in the entire Big Rivers Conference that could match up to me. So no, I figured it was something I should do and enjoy it a little bit here and there. So
yeah. No, I just I kind of find out these things.
I feel like you have people watching me now, so I got to be careful what I do and say.
Did you ever have any kind of conflicts? Did one overtake the other? Did anything like that?
So practices for my high school team for bowling were on Tuesdays and Thursdays after school. Okay. So I'd leave school right about 3:00, walk over to the lanes, which was conveniently just across the parking lot. Since I went to Memorial, grabbed my equipment and started practicing for an hour and a half Tuesdays and Thursdays. The football schedule throughout the fall from September to early November was Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, immediately after school for 2.5 hours. My coaches did not like the fact that I was in two different sports. They wanted me to focus on one of them, not the other. And I ultimately chose bowling because I was a little bit better at it since I had been bowling for a little bit longer than I was playing football. I also didn't get as much help, probably because I was a walk-on senior, which doesn't happen very often. Mm-hmm. But there was conflicts, but I took the right path, in my opinion, and decided to bowl more.
Yeah. And get hit a lot less in bowling.
Yeah, that's true. I've had bowling balls dropped on my foot before or smashed fingers, but it's a lot nicer of a injury than getting hit by a 250-pound lineman. So
yeah, no doubt.
Yes.
How about working at Wagner's Lanes? You were a part-time guy there for a while. When did that start and what was that like?
So I want to say right around 2017, late 2017, early 2018. I'd actually was looking for an extra part-time job at the time, and I was like, you know what? Always talked about working at Wagner's. I'm here 6 nights out of the week, practically is what it was and what it felt like. So I talked to Pat Brickard and asked him, if you guys need any help running some leagues and whatnot, or lane mechanic, oiling the lanes for leagues, I'd be willing to help out. He said, that'd be great since you bowl. You're going to know what the bowlers want. You're going to know what they need. You're going to be a little bit more attentive than workers that don't bowl league or don't take it a little more seriously. Sure. So I worked Monday nights and Wednesday nights from about 4:30 to midnight. So closed up the lanes and whatnot, and ran the 3 leagues because there's one on Monday night, late one on Monday night, and then the 2 on Wednesday night. So I guess it'd be 4 leagues. But no, I worked front of the house helping out with the bowlers and would run back, fix lane jams, pin jams, reset pins, did the oiling for the leagues and whatnot. And I really never had any complaints. People really liked me. When I was quitting, they actually were a little bit upset that I was quitting because they weren't expecting to get another league runner that knew the game and would be willing to listen to the bowlers and try to help them out as much as possible as me. Lo and behold, a couple years later, they actually got one. He bowls with the college team at UWEC, so he does a good job. So I'm glad they were able to find another person that bowls league there. But it was fun. Good staffing company, great company to work for. And they own, Kingpin Management owns tons of stuff. So if you don't like bowling and you want to work for Kingpin, you got plenty of options.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So, this is around the time when you're about to go into adult competition.
Yes.
Tell me about, that decision, because I'm not sure the parameters now. When I was turning 20 and 21, you could stay junior until you were 21 and then you had to go adult. So that's what I did. How did it work out for you?
Same parameters. I was able to bowl up through 20, and that's what I did. I decided if I'm going to bowl college, I might as well stay in the youth program, get experience with, get my name out there through youth programs, youth competition, because I don't know many college scouts that go to an adult league to scout out bowlers for their college team. If there are any, let me know. But no, I stayed in the youth program all the way up through 20. And then afterwards, I had moved and transitioned pretty seamlessly since there was no more youth program or youth competition that I could do by parameter statements anymore. So it was super easy transition.
And before, I was going to say, before you got out of it, you were in an enormous tournament, weren't you?
Yes. Junior Gold, Texas of 2018, it would have been. Yeah, 2018.
Okay.
Because graduated in 2016, 2018, Texas, Junior Gold.
How'd you qualify, and what was it like? Because that's not anything I ever experienced.
No, so I had bowled Junior Gold, or become a youth Junior Gold member 2015, so the year prior to my final year of high school. Tried bowling a couple competitions, didn't do anything more than that. And as I got better throughout the years, I decided I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to do my best. So I paid the extra, I think it was $20 on top of the registration to become a Junior Gold member. It gives you access to all your Junior Gold tournaments, able to qualify for this national competition, which it's once a year, and they only take a specific, not a specific, but once it's percentage based off of how many qualifying tournaments there are across the nation. After you qualify, you don't have to bowl in any more Junior Gold eligible tournaments. You can still bowl in tournaments, but when you qualify once, you're done. At the end of the year, it's usually in middle of July, early July, right around that middle of summertime. It's a week-long competition. 2 days of practice on 4 different squads, 4 days of bowling on a long format, 5 games of qualifying. They take the top 64, top advances, whatever the percentage is. I think it was like, my year was like 128 or 148, something like that. You go through your advances round, they cut again, like the top 64, and then they cut the top. No, I think it stays at the top 64. And then the final advances round, it's all position based where you get your seating. And then after that, it's single elimination bracket match play until there's televised semifinals and finals.
Okay.
And it's a long format. It's difficult. It's grueling. You're bowling on 4 different patterns, one for each squad. And I didn't bowl good, and I'm not going to lie to you. Did not bowl good when I got down there. But I did qualify on I think it was a USBA, so the United States Bowling Academy flight tournament that was brought into Wagner's, because most of the USBA flight tournaments at the time were in southern Wisconsin, 2 to 3 hour drive away, and I did not want to take that far of a drive.
Sure.
While still in school and whatnot and doing high school bowling, I really didn't have a whole lot of time since I was coaching the Memorial team at the time. So I took the opportunity to bowl at house on a 6-game qualifying block. Found out I was bowling. Everybody was a Junior Gold member, and nobody had qualified in the block. So I think I was bowling against 64 other bowlers to qualify. Averaged, I think, $198 or 201 on 43 foot. It was Highway to Hell.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it was Highway to Hell is what we pulled on. So really aggressive, super difficult, heavy oil pattern. Scores weren't insanely high. I mean, a couple of kids shot like 260, 270 games, but pace of the field was about the 195 to 205 mark. So it was very low scoring pace by competitive definitions. After that, we broke up into flights. I finished second, made $400 scholarship, and got my Junior Gold spot. And that's all she wrote, really.
Yeah. And you mentioned you didn't perform very well out there,
No.
but what did you learn? I mean, when you don't win, you always
learn. Yeah, you always learn something. I learned that repeating shots will be your favorite thing no matter where you are, whether you're bowling at house or if you're bowling on a sport and competitive pattern. Repeating shots and making sure you hit the same mark, your same line, and your same break point every single shot will do wonders, and spares are your friends.
Oh, yeah.
I probably easily could have made up probably about an extra 400 positions total by making spares.
Oh, wow.
But it was a long format. I mean, I think I averaged maybe $175, and that had only been after 5 years of bowling, not a whole lot of sport experience. So going to it was night and day difference. I went in thinking, okay, I'll do these practice sessions. I should be good at these practice sessions. I've got some equipment with me that I think will work. And at the time, I think I only went down with 5 bowling balls out of the 6 that you were allowed. I only had 5 at the time.
Okay.
4 strike balls and a spare ball, and hope and pray I did well. Yeah. But no, it was it was fun. I think yeah, I mean, everybody can learn. Practice makes perfect. Learning your equipment very well, making sure you have the right equipment. And if you don't have the right equipment, make easy shots, play defensive, and make spares. And it's going to be the difference between finishing 1,368 out of 1,432 bowlers, comparatively going all the way up and possibly being able to make cut. We actually have a local bowler. I don't know if you know the Callens out of lacrosse. But Anna Callan just recently got done with our final advances round, and she's currently sitting in 7th.
Oh, wow.
For her bracket match play. So she's sitting in a very good position going forward. And then another one of our youth bowlers, Trey Hendricksmeyer, he's currently on the drive to Michigan, and he will be competing next week. I believe competition starts for him on Monday or Tuesday next week. And then it's a 4-day qualifying block. So I think they bowl less games now. I think it's 4-game blocks now versus the 5-game blocks. They bowl over 4 days, 2 days of practice sessions, your opening ceremony, trade show, the whole 9 yards, where you see a bunch of pro bowlers. I mean, your proprietors for like Storm, Hammer, Rotogrip, the whole 9 yards, they're all there showing off new equipment. Pros come down and meet with the kids and whatnot, practice sessions with everybody. Colleges are there too because it's the cream of the crop youth program at that point. These are the best kids of the nation. I mean, I say I didn't do very good, finishing 1,368, right?
Yeah.
But that's out of only those 1,400 that qualified. You got to look at the other 500 to 600,000 other youth bowlers at the time that weren't able to qualify. So, I mean, obviously, there's a level of differences in probably competition between, inner city and middle of the state, Wisconsin, versus, Michigan, Illinois, Minnesota, or any other state for that matter.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
But no, it was an experience, and I'll never forget it. That's for sure.
Yeah,
I'll never forget it.
You mentioned coaching, and
yes.
you have been a high school coach. You are a high school coach.
Mm-hmm.
Before the show, that was the thing that Jim brought up when I asked him about you. He said that he appreciates what you're doing to keep bowling alive in the Chippewa Valley by teaching and developing the next generation. We could use a few more people like you. Did you start coaching high school when you were still a junior?
No, we weren't allowed to. Oh, okay. As I was in the junior program, yes, I was.
Okay.
Once I graduated high school, obviously no longer able to bowl high school because you're only allowed 4 years of varsity bowling. And by definition, on the high school parameters, every high school bowler, by definition, is a varsity bowler, whether they bowl on varsity or JV. So that doesn't mean like you can have 2 years on JV as a high school bowler and then become a super senior and still bowl on varsity. You won't be allowed to bowl anymore.
Sure.
But my dad actually took over when I was a senior. He bowled side by side or coached side by side with Pat and Les Cater.
Okay.
At the time, I had qualified my senior year to go down to state and compete. Our team had also qualified to compete, and I had Pat had asked me if I wanted my dad to coach me. I said, "Yeah, that'd be great. It'd be something that we've been hoping for 3 years with me bowling on the high school team that we were able to go down to state and have him as my coach, little father-son duo."
Yeah.
So after I graduated, didn't bowl great down at state as an individual. Bowled a lot better on the team side of things. We didn't place or make anything big for our names, but still a fun time, obviously. And then afterwards, I'm like, well, my dad's going to keep coaching. My dad wants some help. My sister's still in high school. I'll coach. So went through all of the USBCs and Wisconsin High School Bowling Club stuff. Got all my parameters set straight, make sure that I can work with kids, all the background checks and everything to make sure I was clean to go and able to work with kids. And I started coaching, and I've been coaching every year since. Haven't dropped a year.
Okay. Wow, and you've coached for a couple different schools in our area too.
Yep, I started coaching with Memorial just because it's my school. Figured I'd start with them, and my dad was on the team with me coaching. So for 5 years, I coached at Memorial, and then just this past year, North High School was in need of an extra coach or a couple extra coaches. So I actually originally offered up my dad, who had stepped down the prior year thinking he was done coaching. I asked him if he'd be interested in coaching his old high school, and he said sure. I had talked with Josh Webb, our district coordinator, and he had said he'd be willing to take over coaching Memorial for the year, so I can help out as well. So I handed him the reins, stepped over, walked with my dad over to North for the year, and coached at North. I actually coached the girls' varsity at North this past season. And I've usually coached just the varsity team at Memorial.
Okay.
So 6 years running, it's probably another 6 years to go. So
does coaching high school bowling make you a better bowler?
No, it doesn't. Because I won't listen to myself. No. I tell the kids everything that they're supposed to do or they should do to help their own game and to accelerate their own ability to bowl. And then I sit here and look at myself. I'm like, oh, why am I not doing this? They always say that you can't coach yourself; someone else has to coach you, and it can be very apparent. Trey will say the exact same thing. That you can't coach yourself; you got to have someone else to coach you. So he'll give me pointers here and there. And he was actually part of the North team, their boys varsity team. So he would give me a little poke on the side and say, "Hey, do this. Hey, do that instead." And it's helped my own scores, but it's weird having a 16-year-old tell you what to do and it do the right thing. But
if you're going to have a 16-year-old tell you,
I would rather it be him. Yes, yeah, but for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Talk about dealing with the different personalities. I'm not saying that some kids are good, some kids are bad, good bowlers, bad bowlers, but we're all different, right? We all learn different.
Yep.
How do you go about, kind of keeping these bowlers on the right path, given that coming in, you're going to have different personalities?
One thing that I've learned is that you really have to become friends with the kids that you're coaching. It makes things so much easier because you know how far you can go with a joke or what you can say to the kid without irritating them or what you can't say to them that'll get them a little ticked off and whatnot. So it's really maintaining a friendship with these kids is what really changes and makes the ability to coach these kids and interact with them on that one-to-one level so much easier. Trey, for example, it's very easy with him. I've actually been bowling with him for 8 years now. I think it was we bowled the adult youth tournament through Wagner's for a long time. So walking into coaching him was very easy just because I've known him for so long. I didn't have any issues with kids. I never really have. They're kids, let's be honest. I mean, they're going to say things, they're going to do things because they're young, they're stupid and dumb. They're going to learn eventually kind of situation. I was too. I mean, you can ask my father. I would never listen to him as a coach, but I'd turn around and listen to any other coach that would tell me something. That's because he was my old man. I didn't want to listen to my dad, whoever wants to when they're kids. But they learn a lot better when you're friends with them and you're willing to work with them. And I've dealt with different bowling styles with these kids as well. I mean, I've gone to watch kids throw it super hard and not have a whole lot of hook. I've watched kids throw super slow, have a whole lot of hook. Lefties, righties, two-handed righties, two-handed lefties. I've got a little bit of everything. And each one bowls a little bit differently. I mean, just between you and me, Faf, we each have our own different bowling style. Mm-hmm. What I say to change your style is probably wrong because it's not how you bowl. You got to learn how they bowl as well. And that makes it a lot more difficult because you got all these different styles of bowling. I mean, you look at Tom Smallwood, for example. He bowls in a very different style of bowling than you see Bill O'Neill bowl or how you see Jason Belmonte bowl. I mean, there's all these different styles. You have full rollers, you have thumb in the ball, you have two-handers, you have thumb out of the ball, one-handed, you've got thumb in the ball, two-handed. I mean, the styles never change. They never change. So learning these kids' personalities, learning how they bowl, and adjusting how you talk to the kids, how you interact with them, and adjusting your coaching patterns or your advice patterns to how they bowl makes things miles better.
Yeah. What would you say your favorite moment or favorite moments were or are from coaching high school bowling?
From coaching high school bowling, I'd have to say probably my 5th year of bowling, I had 2 kids qualify for state, and that was Jacob Bunce, senior at Memorial at the time, and then Trey Hendricksmeyer, freshman at North. At the time I was coaching Memorial, so the kid that I had to coach was Jacob, or not had to, but that was who Jacob had asked was for me to coach him.
It was your responsibility.
Yeah. Responsibility, yes. Yeah, that's the better word for it. And then Trey, who I have known for a long time and have watched him grow as a bowler also qualified. So seeing these two kids who have a lot of talent in their young age, in their short lives, bowling together was amazing. We went down to state, 3-game qualifying. Jacob shoots like 680, 690, qualifies, hits himself in 7th place for the next round. Perfect. Trey goes down, and he's using a storm ice, a plastic ball. Everybody else is using urethane or reactive resin, playing big hook or slowing in with a slow hooking ball. And this kid is throwing it up 3 with a plastic storm ice and scoring. He shoots 666, qualifies 11th. Like, all right, this is great. Kid I've watched grow up, throwing a plastic ball. No one in the entire field would have expected him to throw plastic as a freshman, up 3 and score. Jacob throws urethane the whole weekend, purple urethane, and then he threw a couple reactive balls. I don't remember what they were off the top of my head. Shoots 680. I'm like, all right, this is great. We've got 2 Eau Claire boys from rival schools are going at it. They're both in the top 10 essentially, because Trey was tied in 11th. Like, this is great. And we come around the next day, or that night, we found out they both qualify, and I was speechless. I mean, these kids are just amazing. I'm like, because I don't think we've had any Eau Claire bowlers make it through the first round since Pat Cater and Mark Lee used to bowl in high school together. So it's been 20 years since we've had any of our Eau Claire or local area guys make it there. Boys side alone. I don't know about the girls. I think a couple girls have made first round cut. And then we turned around the next day. They did another round of bowling and whatnot. And my best moment was, unfortunately, Jacob had fallen off a little bit. He got a little bit mentally checked out, and he was struggling. And he thanked me for coaching him, even though he knew he wasn't going to make it. And like, dude, you've done a lot. You've never made state before. It's your first year at state. You're going to keep bowling. You're going to do a lot of good things when it comes to bowling. Just keep at it. And we were separated, I want to say, by 3 or 4 pairs between Jacob and I, and Trey and Brandon Null, who was his coach at the time. And I hear a foul light go off. Only one of the entire weekend. And I look over and I was like, oh, I wonder who it was. And I saw it ended up being Trey. He was on the back 6, and he fouls going into the 10th frame. So he just lost like 40 pins, 50 pins of bonus pins he could have made up if he just didn't foul. Like, all right. And turns around, throws an 8 count, big split, can't cover it since he fouled right. So we're sitting there waiting. I knew Jacob didn't make it because I think he shot like minus 60 after that next 3. So we knew Jacob was out of it. But Trey had gone, I think, plus 30 on that block. So 630 and 666, I want to say is what he threw. So we're waiting. All the numbers are coming in. We're all chit-chatting. Trey's just antsy. He's very nervous. I'm like, what's going on, man? He's like, I shouldn't have fouled. I knew I should have reset myself. I overslid, and I fouled. I think he said it was by his big toe. Maybe half a big toe, half a nail. He's like, one he wants to say. I'm like, all right, well, you shot plus both sides. I think it'd be fine. I watched a couple of the kids on our pair were struggling a little bit too. And we had lead kids on our pair. Like, I think you're fine. And announcement started, and the first statement, he says, wow, what a set. And remember, every pin matters. And I was like, all right, I don't like hearing that.
Because you know it's going to be close.
And I know it's going to be close. So as we went down the line, 5th place was another kid from La Crosse area. And I heard the total, and it was 1 pin shy of what Trey's total was.
Wow.
1 pin. Might I add, he threw an 8 count. So if he threw just a 9 count, wrapped a 10 pin, stone a 9 pin, what did it matter? They would have tied and gone to a roll off instead.
So he was ahead of Trey by 1 pin.
By 1 pin, yes.
Oh, jeez.
And the two things that and he's a freshman at the time, so he's young. He's emotional. He kind of broke down, crying a little bit. And I was like, dude, you're a freshman. This is your first year qualifying for state, first year coming to it, and you've made milestone steps between your 7th and 8th grade years bowling on JV teams and practicing and whatnot just to here alone. You got 3 more years of high school, and not to mention you got your whole life ahead of you in this sport. There's tons of time left.
Oh, yeah.
And it took a lot for him to reconcile himself and come back into it. And the next day, he was perfectly fine. And I was like, that's the mentality that these youth kids need. And you got to realize that you can't bask in the past every shot, once you let go of the ball, you can't change anything, right? Take it frame by frame, move on from it. Don't hold yourself back. It's only going to cause more issues. Trey, this year, he turned around, qualified first in the district, go down to state, made top 5 cut, and finished 5th place this year. So he did a lot better than last year. Struggled during that match as well, but was in a lot more mental shape. So between these last 2 years, I want to say that that's like the most memorable, just seeing Trey and Jacob's mental game change from that experience alone.
Yeah. So meanwhile, along with the coaching, you're competing in adult leagues, adult tournaments, all that stuff. So I had to ask one of your teammates, Max Grabara, about bowling with you. He said that when he first met you, he thought, now there's a guy who throws a pretty good ball. And then he turns around and says he's a fun teammate, but just needs to stay more positive and use his knowledge when things get tough. Keep working on your approach.
Yes. So the approach statement, you'll never see me foul, ever. If I foul, there's something wrong with the foul lights because I probably stop a good 6 to 7 inches before the foul line. So I'm nowhere near the foul line. So that's one thing that we've noticed that as we've bowled together throughout the years, he's like, just work on your approach. Try to slide a little bit more. Take a couple steps forward if you need it. So I don't slide a whole lot. I'm more of a small slide and plant bowler on my approach. So that's one thing we've worked on. And that positive statement, I have taken that in stride. I try to pride myself on being a good bowler and always trying to do better. So when I'm shooting really bad games, I really let it get to me. And like I've told these kids, keep your mental in check because it's going to help you. And every time Max is usually on my side about it, trying to back me up and get me mentally in check again. And I've gone from shooting 140, 150 games to shooting 270s with no issue just from mental check. So, I mean, I've enjoyed bowling with Max as a teammate. He's a great guy. Like I made the comment on his show. He's a phenomenal bowler. He really is a good guy to bowl with. Great teammate. So
yeah, for sure. And he said another fun thing to see is when you're bowling either against or near your dad. He says you two are more like brothers when you get going and start in on each other. Is there a friendly rivalry there?
So for the longest time, when I first started bowling, my dad was always like, well, I'll always be the better bowler than you and whatnot. So it kind of got me grinding to always beat him. And he realized it probably going into my first year of men's league that if he gets a game off of me, he's lucky. Kind of situation. I like to pride and keep that competitive rivalry going. I'm like that with my dad. I'm like that with Jordan Ross. And I'm like that with Michael Tigan. I keep a very competitive rivalry with the guys that are close to me. And it makes it more enjoyable. It really does. It's a house league in the leagues around here, but even still, it makes it for a more fun environment. So,
and you had mentioned that you do the adult juniors, with Trey, and when I asked him about that, he said, 100%. No sarcasm. I carried him.
State. Ignore the 798. Yes. No. He 100% carried me. So that would have been 2018. So the same year that I went down to junior gold. I believe it was either 2018 or 2017 for that season. We qualified first in the local tournament to qualify for the state tournament, and I want to say it was Racine or Kenosha that year. And so Trey was still young, not a super high average bowler at the time. We get down there, and I want to say he shoots like a 102, 103 his first game. And Sam and I, his mom and I, will joke back and forth. We'll just keep dropping the score down consistently every time we bring it up. But I want to say it was a very low score. I had my best one that we can shoot in 798 without a 300, just missing the 800 mark, which I have yet to get. I would love to get one. It'll come eventually, but I went like mid 230, like a 280 game or something like that. It was phenomenal bowling. And Trey ends up actually turning his game around, shooting like I think a 279 or a 280 game, his game 2, and something else to finish out with like 599 or 597. So really good turnaround from shooting like a 102, 103 game. Honestly, just mentally in check, turn it right around. And Trey makes, I want to say game 3, he makes a 4-7-10. Big split to convert, to keep his game clean and game alive. And we get the announcement about a week and a half, 2 weeks later, that we had won state that year by 6 pins. So another situation of if Trey misses that split, we lose. So yeah, 100% he carried me. 100%. The 798 that I got with no handicap and his like 50 pins of cap that we got per game, no, 100% he carried me through state. And nowadays, if I bowl with the adult youth with him, it's 100% him carrying, like actually carrying me. This kid is a phenomenal bowler. He's turned from being, $130, $140 average bowler to shooting on average like 220s, 230s on sport and 240 on house. Mm-hmm. I won't be surprised if you see his name on tour in the next year and a half to 2 years.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And he said, on a real note, he would say that, we always enjoy bowling together. This is the adult youth tournament and we always win scratch, but it's a handicap tournament and that causes us to miss qualifying for state.
Yes.
And I get that. I mean, look, the majority are in favor of it being a handicap event. It's going to be a handicap event, but that says a lot about his growth, and I'm sure you have, enough to do with that.
I've looked at Trey even from when we first started bowling together. I told his mom and him actually, because one year he like broke down, got super upset. I mean, I shot like 680, 700, something like that 1 year, and he broke down, super upset and whatnot. I let him, was like, dude, I'm not going to bowl with you anymore if you're going to keep this kind of attitude. You gotta mature up here if we're going to keep bowling. And he's like, all right. And from there on, it's just walked his way up. That maturity just keeps rising and rising and rising. Now, sure, he's 16. He's still a hothead. He thinks he's better than everybody else. He'll beat everybody any day of the week. And I've watched him lose some very close matches and very important matches. And I'm like, there you go. That's a stepping stone. That's a learning lesson in that maturity in that aspect. But the kid's great. I mean, honestly, that's the kind of maturity growth that I want to see from kids when it comes to sport. And he used to be a multi-sport athlete. I'm pretty sure he did baseball, soccer, golf. He does. I mean, he's everything. He's your phenomenal high school multi-sport athlete situation. He chose bowling. He dropped everything. I think all he does now is bowl. I wouldn't be surprised if he bowls 7 days a week, 8 hours a day at this point from what I've seen from growth from the kid. Yeah. And I've always looked at him as a younger brother. Because I've got a younger sister, but I've never got a brother. So I've always looked at him as a younger brother aspect. And I'm sure if you asked him 4 years ago, he'd say he looked up to me as an older brother. And nowadays he'll say, oh, no, he's a really good friend. He's a really good friend now. So I'm sure deep down he still thinks of me and looks up to me as an older brother, but he'll tell you different.
Yeah, for sure. No, he's fantastic, and he has a bright future. That's for sure. That's why, when I ran into him at the World Series of Bowling, and he helped me with a couple interviews, I introduced him to the pros as, "Hey, this is the guy who's going to take your money someday."
Yeah, and I'm sure if anyone saw him bowl, they probably might be a little afraid. Yeah, honestly.
Yeah, for sure. So you go down to the Wisconsin USBC State Open Championships in Green Bay this past March, and you're plus 83 after singles and doubles, and then you go to the team event. So what happened during the team event?
So game one, it wasn't a great game one. I mean, I shot, I want to say maybe $175, $180 or so. I want to say that wasn't a great game. I struggled to find anything to shoot. Lanes felt a little bit more slick than I was expecting to, and just didn't find anything. After game one, I kind of turned around and went back to the brackets board. So I was still in brackets, and I was like, oh, no, I can still make some money in brackets. Let's actually bowl now. Turned around, shot 240, 230, something like that. Still in the same amount of brackets that I was. I was like, all right, let's get running. In game three, everything strung together for 12 shots in a row. First 300 in 4 years, two on the mark that are recognized by the USBC. One was in practice that got not USBC certified because it was in a pre-Pulse Bowl situation. But no, everything locked in. I was just all I could think was just keep throwing shots. You can make some money for your brackets, and that's the only mentality that I had during game three. And I guess it was enough to string together all 12.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, we were the slowest pair out of our squad. And that wasn't like anyone was bowling slow. We were just happened to be the slowest pair. Don't know if it was just us, the rest of the team that we had, the 10 guys we had in the lanes just not striking enough, or just like weren't ready right away. Because none of us were like sitting up at the approach waiting, a minute and a half to throw a shot kind of situation because you're all on a time clock.
Yep.
At that competition. But I was fourth in our rotation, so Mike still had to bowl after me, and we were the only pair bowling that was left.
Okay.
So 10th frame comes around, and I was like, all right, great, here we go. And I could hear it, and I could feel it because I noticed that no other people were bowling. And I balled that down, took a quick look, and I was like, oh, there's no one else bowling at all. Okay, so first shot went through, 10 back clean. I was like, all right, we're good. Just stay locked in. You're fine. 11th shot went in, and that's when it got loud. I was like, all right, 10 back, a little bit of a late 7-pin. I was like, all right, cool. And I'm like, if people just keep talking, it's fine. There won't be any issues. I won't have to worry about it. And then as I went to grab my ball, I hear shh, shh, and just everyone was hushing everybody. I was like, I just would have preferred you guys to keep talking.
Right.
Honestly. I let go of the ball. I threw it super hard, probably just because I honestly couldn't really focus in at that point enough to really solidify a great shot. Threw the ball in, late 7-pin, everything went down, and I shot the 300, and I was very happy with myself. So,
yeah. Wow. That's a great accomplishment. I mean,
yeah.
On that stage.
Yeah, free bowling ball. I'll get a jacket this month. Maybe sit in a very good position for cashing. So, and my girlfriend, who I'm still dating currently, has been coming to all my matches Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night. She hasn't missed one because she wants it to be something that she will always like come to. And she constantly has been giving me crap that I haven't shot, any honor scores recently since she's been coming around. And we have a friend of ours that also comes with on these nights. And she couldn't make it that weekend. She wanted to come down because she's been solidified as part of the bowling family that we have, and she wasn't able to make it. So she actually got upset with me that I shot 300 because she wasn't there. And the message that I got from her about 40 minutes afterwards, she's like, are you serious? You couldn't have done that like 2 weeks prior to hand or a week prior to hand? You had to do it when I was gone. I was like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Things just worked out pretty well. So
yeah,
but
you're not going to give it back.
No. And it's funny that you mentioned that because it had been 4 years since the last one. And we were talking about how I used to be a youth bowler and came into the adult scene. I'd actually bowled in the Welcome Back tournament that Wagner's had hosted 2019 or 2018-2019 season. And I had won that. So I come in swinging. I'm like, all right, cool. That's a whole year league one for free. Awesome. First night in men's league, I was only bowling in one league at the time, which was Thursday night, the Big A+. First night in my men's league, first game, I shot 300.
Oh, my gosh.
So I can't shoot during regular season. It's either opening season or closing season, it seems like.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess I have to bowl in a very specific situation to shoot honor scores, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
but, hey, really memorable situations, though.
Yes. Both of them were memorable, especially with that 300 being my first sanctioned one. Because that year prior to hand is when I had shot the unsanctioned one.
Gotcha.
So it was like, well, this one counts. This is the big one. Since it's an adult league, it actually counts now. And then turning around and throwing it at the Wisconsin State USBC Open Championship was another big accomplishment. I wasn't ever expecting to shoot, a big old honor score like that at one of these competitions. So,
right. So we're, like you said, about maybe 6 weeks away from the start of the season. You told me you're not bowling this summer, and I haven't really picked up a ball since April either. But tell me about the season. You're bowling, you're coaching. Tell me how all that's going to work for you this year.
It's like every year. It's super long. I bowl 3 nights a week, so Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday nights I'm bowling. Wednesday nights was actually very easy for this last year because when North had their practice days, it was Monday and Wednesday. So Monday's my free day. I don't work on Mondays. Makes it very easy to practice. Wednesday night, I've got league, but their practice is on Wednesday at 4:30. So I'd swing over to the lanes afterwards in my league uniform, practice with the kids, go down, get my stuff ready, and good to go. Memorials is Tuesdays and Thursday nights, right after school. So from 3 to 4:30, Tuesdays and Thursdays, which is where I bowl at Liners, is Tuesdays and Thursdays. So that makes everything very streamlined for me.
Okay.
Even still, at that point, it makes Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I'm in a bowling alley from 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 3:30, to about 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, either coaching or bowling or both.
Or both. Yeah.
During those 7.5 to 8 hours. And then Saturdays, if I don't work or I can get over to the lanes, I like to go over to both houses and try to recruit and talk to kids about the high school program. As well, haven't been able to do this last year, trying to more this year, or have someone in my state go there. Mm-hmm. And then Sundays is competition, where you travel, start bowling at 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning, whether it be an hour and a half drive or a 3-hour drive to our competition. Which then leaves me with Mondays and Fridays are my free day, where I'm not in the bowling alley, or try to not be, I should say.
Yeah.
So from September really to late April, early May, I am in a bowling alley 5 to 6 days out of the week. So my free time goes disappear.
But when you're not in the bowling center, I want to mention that you do your own live streaming on Twitch.
I do. Yeah. Yes. I started Twitch streaming probably 4 to 5 years ago now, and all my friends will make memes about it and whatnot. Say, as long as you show up for one a month, I'll be the only one that you see that month, because that's all he does. And it's true. I only do stream, once or twice a month if I can get it. I stream through Twitch at twitch.tv/SirPorkChops, and that I is with a 1. That name was taken, unfortunately. But no, I just do video game streams in there and whatnot. I plan on starting my own podcast platform. I've actually have a couple of interviews already set up that I've recorded. I just haven't pushed the envelope yet for it. But no, I do. When I'm not in the bowling alley, I'm on my computer, streaming, playing video games with friends, or honestly watching the Brad and Kyle YouTube channel, watching their content, as well as with Darren Tang's YouTube bowling content. So
there you go. You're supposed to say you were watching this one.
I mean, I do. Those are the live streams. So, I mean,
but those two, if you're not going to watch this one, you are top.
Yes. No, Bowling with the Faf is a very good platform. I've watched all but I want to say like 3 or 4 episodes, whether it be live or afterwards. I try to watch most of them.
Cool. No,
it's always been very fun to watch it.
I appreciate that. And once I get the spelling of that handle from you, I'll put the link in the description of this so people can find you on Twitch. If you're not familiar, Twitch is kind of aimed toward gamers and live streaming platform with games in the background and things like that. You've seen enough of these that we go off the sheet by asking you to challenge somebody else. Unique story to tell, passionate about the sport of bowling. So Tylor Chamberlain, who would you like to challenge to be on a future episode of Bowling with the Fef?
Well, as we talked about in our little pre-show banter, my first option was taken as I talked to the kid, and he was already going to be on it. So I was like, all right, well, we'll move on to the next one. The big option that I really had was trying to get Bill O'Neill on the show.
Okay.
I think he'd be a great aspect. He's a down-to-earth guy. He's super friendly. I'm pretty sure he doesn't remember me, but we've had multiple interactions with each other. And the other person that would probably challenge is Mike Wurst. I think he'd be a great other option for the show.
Yeah.
So,
well, Bill has actually been on once before.
That's probably the one that I missed then. So
that. But Mike has not, and you're the second one to challenge him. So Mike, if you see this, I know Mike, he can get a hold of me. I can get a hold of him. So hopefully he'll come on, because he's got a terrific bowling story, one of the best, certainly in this area, if not the state of Wisconsin.
Easily.
Has done tons in Minnesota as well. As luck would have it, I actually have one of his former teammates coming on next week. John Cryer Jr. is coming on the show Thursday, July 21st, 6 p.m. Central. He's from Mounds View, Minnesota. Has won a ton of stuff over the years, and was the runner-up in this year's Chippewa Valley Match Games. So be sure and check us out next week, Thursday, 6 p.m. Central, to hear John's bowling story. And Tyler, thank you so much for coming on. Best of luck in the coming season, not only in your own bowling, but also in the high school coaching.
Well, of course, thank you for having me. It's honestly been a super fun time being on the show. So, I mean, if you want repeat viewers, I'd be more than welcome to come back on the show once again if you ever need it.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate that, and thank you so much for being here. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. Always appreciate it here. For now, be just and fear not. We will see you again next week on Thursday night.